Let's first quickly introduce ourselves. I'm today together here with
Guido Jacobs. I'm a pre-sales engineer at IGEL Technology, and my role is to explain the IGEL product and whatever we do with IGEL, how we can use it, and advice on the spot with partners and with customers on how to deploy the product and how to maintain it and so on. So
okay, great, thanks for joining. My name is Martin Kous. I'm an end-user computing architect at comdivision. To give you a very brief idea who comdivision is, we're a Germany-based services partner for everything from VMware. End-to-end, we do all master server competencies, so we can help you from end-user computing, like we will discuss today, all the way up to cloud foundation, everything else you need. And that's what we do. Let's dive in. So more or less our agenda we want to cover indeed is actually workspaces nowadays are a journey. And we have divided it into multiple steps because currently the market is really overcrowded with a lot of different products out there, and it's very hard to, okay, which product does what, how can I, in the end, you need a workspace. So you need a platform. And that's where we believe the future workspace that is already here today is consists of multiple products that will help you in security, lower costs, improve your user experience, and at the end point, we have IGEL. And that's why I'm here today, happy with Guido, and Guido will tell us more about the IGEL operating system.
Okay, so what about the endpoints? What is IGEL actually? So IGEL is, first of all, an operating system and everything you need to manage that operating system. So it's one platform, we call that IGEL Cosmos. And within the IGEL Cosmos, we have the endpoint, the management platform that you need to manage that endpoint, and everything that is surrounding that on cloud services like onboarding, like licensing, like app distribution and OS firmware updates. Everything hosted from IGEL, we call IGEL Cosmos. So if we take a look at the operating system, this is our latest operating system, OS 12, obviously the successor of OS 11, which is now modular. It has a smaller footprint. It has, as always, it has a small attack surface because we only open up whatever the user needs or the admin needs and nothing else. It now supports Azure AD, Okta for authentication. So the endpoint can be protected on the outside with Azure AD or Okta. So not an unauthorized access is no longer possible. It's now able to update over the internet. So a user who's at home or in a branch office can just receive updates just as quickly as people that are on site of the main office. And this is now, the whole platform is now designed around this new OS. So we can make every change we want to make on this endpoint simply through the IGEL management, and there's no need to have more tooling around it. So if we step up to the management part, we have the UMS, and with the UMS we can now manage this endpoint remotely, monitor it, see what is device, when this device was online for the last time, when it's connecting, when it's updating. We can shadow the user if we need to, because the user may run into an issue or just doesn't understand what to do. Everything you need is here. So there's no need for an antivirus or extra monitoring or a shadowing assisting tool. It's all within this management tool. There's over 7,000 different policies that we can tweak just to modify the behavior of this endpoint. And it's all being done through simple profiles that you can apply on a unit or company-wide or just one unit. It's all done through one GUI.
Like common stuff like you would expect, setting a background, having a splash screen during boot, that can all be customized. And then one of the great benefits now is as well, it's all web-based. So like you can see in the picture, and like Guido will show you in a second, you can now just from any location where you are, as long as you have, of course, access to the backend, but you don't need an additional console to be physically installed. You can now do everything web-based as well.
Exactly. So the whole OS is designed to around the cloud philosophy. So your desktop is hosted in a cloud environment like Azure, like VMware, like Citrix, and we have already placed all the components that you would need in such an environment within the operating system or as an app, so you can deploy them easily or update them easily. And everything that you need to set is already within the GUI. So simple example that we see on the screen right now, you cannot really read it. It's really small, but it says team optimization. So VMware Teams optimization is already just within the operating system. It's just a checkbox and you're done. You don't have to think about how to deploy this on your endpoints and how to distribute it to all your endpoints. It's already in this management tooling. Just one click and you're good to go. So this is all a big benefit when you want to manage a large fleet of units that are widely distributed around the globe, and you don't know exactly where they are, but you can set policies and you will know for sure they will contact your management server and get their updates.
Yeah, you can just place this in the cloud, indeed, like on Azure or any other public cloud or private cloud system. In the end, it's just URL where the endpoints need to connect to, and a certain port has to be open, and you can manage devices across the entire globe. And it's really something like configure once and then more or less like a set and forget. It's not something you have to update every week, or like with pesky Windows updates, you have to keep in mind, you have to redo when it's Patch Tuesday every 2 weeks, you have to patch it, test it, all those things, that all goes away. Because of course we have updates of the operating system as well, but they're very small, and the main benefit, like Guido said, yeah, the footprint is we only open up what is needed and that's it. So a user by default has no installation rights. We give them a chance, and then we just grant them rights into, like we call an app portal, where they just can select their applications and download them, or we distribute them automatically to them, to everything they need. From large video conferencing, Zoom, Teams, all the big ones, all are available natively available for the operating system.
Yeah, WebEx, you name them, it's already integrated, and you have to really see this as one product. So basically, if you go back to the first slide where I show you the IGEL Cosmos, this is all being done with one license. So as soon as you just have one single device, you have access to this whole platform. Mm-hmm. So the Cosmos is basically a licensed Cosmos Pass, as we call it, mm-hmm. and you will have access to, updates for your endpoint. Of course, the endpoint itself is something that you need to buy from one of our partners, but then you will have access to install this software, you can manage it, and you can already onboard it and update it. It's all within this single platform, within one license, and you're good to go.
Yeah, true. That's one of the greatest benefits. So, no, not like with, not to make too much fun of Microsoft, but we don't have 20 different licenses.
No, nothing like it. Nothing like
just one license and good to go.
Exactly. So then we end up in our cloud services. And what you can find here are all the different applications that we can offer on the IGEL OS, which are already, maintained and integrated by our developers. These are already set, so you just have to click on the application that you need for your environment, and the management server will take care of it, and it will present you a simple checkbox like what do you want to deploy and what do you want to turn on and off, and it's as simple as that.
And even manage updates for a specific version. So if you have a specific IGEL operating system, like we often see in hospitals, combined with Imprivata, for example, if you have a specific version of that it has to stay with the operating system, you can decide when you update it. So you can turn it, of course, automatically. But if you want to stay in a certain versions to make sure everything works perfectly together, that's something you can do as well.
Yeah, and just like you would expect from a phone, like a modern smartphone today, you can just push automatic updates and say, okay, the customer or the end user just gets these updates as soon as they're available, or you can manage these exactly when you want it to happen. So you can really get into the fine details of how you want to update. If you just need a lower version of, let's say, a VMware Horizon client for some reason, you can just downgrade back to this older version, even though you're on the Edge operating system.
Okay, nice.
So, and So anyway, so now I am in the management console, and you can see that I'm well, logged on already. I wanted to show that, I mean, it's just a user credential. It's a web portal. That's it, simple. We still use the Java console, which is something we have been developing for the past 15 years. So it's simply too much to have already developed everything into the web portal. So for some functionality, you still need to go back to this Java portal, but for most day-to-day jobs and configuring applications, it's all being done through this web portal. So obviously you will have an overview of what we can do here. So we manage devices, which is simply just a nice administrative way of overviewing all your clients. So I split this up because it's not only my environment, but some of my colleagues are testing and playing around here as well. For OS 12, I just have here my environment, and this is the laptop which should be next to me. It says it doesn't have access, which probably has to do with the Wi-Fi network around here. Anyway, I'll just reboot it and let's see. But as soon as it is, I'll just have it. I'll show it to you. Anyway, so you'll have an administrative way to look around on what your client is doing. I have another client here, which is already up and running. I can shadow this from my machine. It's probably running some profile I'm testing now. Let's see if I can manage to reach it. Yep, there it is. It's customer wanted to see a sidebar, so I created this bar on the side, which they can now use. They want to have this as a kiosk solution, which is nice.
So I mean, you connect to the device without using any TeamViewer or whatever software, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I created a policy which says I want to shadow this device and I don't need any access, and I just want to show it directly. So this is one policy which I created for OS 12. And like you can see, I've created a profile as well that says, okay, put this taskbar on the right, and so on and so on. And I want to have a local terminal. Everything is done through these profiles. And as you can see, these profiles are now here in a drop-down list, and everything is done through these profiles. You can also see that some of these profiles also have an application attached. And this is clearly because, well, you want to deploy an application. So let's say I want to, well, in this example, deploy something like VMware. I can just go to my applications, and here you can see, okay, I have all these applications, but do I already have VMware? Yes, I do. If I would not have this application yet, I could go to my app portal.
Is there really a game available as well called SuperTuxCard?
Yep, yeah.
Nice.
Just for testing purposes, just for IGEL internally, we also have deployed a small game which we can just use to test out. So this is the admin portal, or the app portal as we as it's called. And here we can select all these different apps like deviceTRUST, which you might need to be deployed. So if I want to have this, I can just import it, accept the EULA, and I can start configuring such an application within my UMS. Okay, so if I go back, within a few seconds, I should see deviceTRUST pop up, as you can see it. Now I can start creating a profile just for deviceTRUST right now, and I'll just start typing here. Create a profile, save it, and I start configuring deviceTRUST. Now there's not really much I need to configure here, but I can set these options. Simple as that. Once I've created my profile, I'll save and close it, and I can deploy it onto a device or a whole group. So now I can go back to my devices and say, okay, I want to deploy this on this whole group. And I'll just say, okay, assign. I just created this profile for deviceTRUST, which is here, deploy it. Immediately I get a question like, do you want to set this now directly or apply it on the next reboot? I can say, okay, I want to apply this now directly. So you all have an option. So do you want to bug your users or not? If I do say now, my end customers will absolutely now just receive an update that says, hey, you need to install this piece of software. So if we just look at this device, it should now be busy, or probably is already done, reading and receiving the deviceTRUST installation. Here we go. It's already done. It's already telling you to reboot. Okay. So it's going as quick as you can see. And this is simply how you manage all these endpoints now, and just pick your application, set the settings you want to set, and deploy them on your endpoints.
One of the great things as well is now, even just for onboarding a device, and by the matter of time, fortunately, we cannot show it, but you can just natively integrate and authenticate, for example, against Azure AD. Okta integration is now possible as well. And even now, if we push this a little bit further, for example, with Okta now being one of the first IDPs where you can actually say, I want to authenticate locally against the operating system. So not yet your remote or published workspace. That can be done as well. So meaning as using Okta locally to authenticate against your local IGEL operating system, that's possible as well now.
Yeah. So, okay, this is how we manage the devices. It's really simply based on these applications. Of course, the core OS itself is an application for us as well. So this is where you can set simple things like wallpapers, like, well, the position of your taskbar. Well, someone requires that for some reason, who knows? Everything can be tailored in that sense. It's 7,000 parameters, as I already told you. It's immense what you can do, and the list of applications is growing. And the app portal is still being developed in that sense that you can add more and more. You will see more and more applications join. And as you can see, it's a wide range as well. So if you need printing, for example, there's this old-fashioned cups printing, but there's also advanced printing from partners going on. So speech mics, there's a Zoom client now that you can just install directly on the endpoint, so you can set Zoom calls directly from the endpoint as well. Everything integrated. And as I already told, we also have Okta and Azure AD, which can be used to single sign on to these applications as well. Okay, so this is basically what I wanted to show you. My endpoint still doesn't want to connect, so that's a no-show for now. We can maybe continue on your part of the.
Yes, of course. Of course, we can tell about a lot about products, but what we really want to show you as well is really just a customer use case we had recently. So that I explained, we introduced all those different technologies over there as well. Let's just see if it jumps over. Great.
Yeah.
So to make it a little bit more of a fun part. Once upon a time, we had a customer, more or less 7,500 employees across all continents, so EMEA, APAC in the US. They had inadequate data center locations, so a lot of things locally, but everything in a flat structure. So meaning they were quite unsupported and unprotected as well. So meaning they were quite open to a cyber attack. Of course, what happened in April of this year, they had indeed a cyber incident, which meant they had to shut down their complete worldwide IT services. So meaning everything was down, domain controller, servers, backend, everything. So they already were in contact with comdivision before that time to have a complete data center refresh, recommendations, how to move to the cloud, how we could help them, how to better interconnect, provide them with a new way of working instead of everything locally on the laptop. And so in the end, yeah, everything came a little bit faster, and we needed to enable them to get up and running quite fast. That's where we went for Horizon Cloud Next Gen running on Azure in the backend. For the of you who know VMware Horizon consists of multiple components like any other product, but the main downside is if you're running it on-prem or if you are running it in a platform as a service, like running it, for example, vSphere on Google, vSphere on AWS, it's just still normal vSphere and you still have to manage each individual component. Main benefit of Horizon Cloud Service Next Gen is almost all the components you need are running in VMware their own Horizon Cloud control plane, like they call it. So meaning from your pod managers, your management console, your even, I will explain a good way for application management later on as well. All those things, you don't have to manage that yourself. So no Windows servers, no certificates, all that stuff goes away. That's all being run for you. The only thing you really have to pay for is actually your own consumption. So meaning indeed your desktops and application farms you indeed deploy, but also just only your external unified access gateway. So meaning to be able to connect to your Azure specific environment, we need of course a stepping stone to be able to connect. That's our external unified access gateway, like we call it. And then you can actually connect. Of course, we need some connections to your on-prem infrastructure, or if you have already everything in the cloud, we still require access to your on-premise Active Directory domain controller, because of course we want to have our machines domain joined. That's not a must. We can do it Azure AD joined as well, but of course, then you're still quite limited in the options you have available. But that's more or less the biggest benefit is you only you just pay for a service. So meaning everything from the core components is being installed and managed for you. It's running as a microservice. So you will never get, unless it has an impact on your environment, you will never get the request to update something. That's all being done for you in a small way, and that's all being done and run in the backend. So in your own tenant, the only thing you pay for is your own actual loads, desktop and applications, that unified access gateways, and actually also the a Kubernetes cluster that runs to, of course, interact between both. So besides this, that's the only thing we need to be able to get this up and running. We deploy this globally, so meaning in the 3 different locations. Main other benefit was we just have to manage applications and an image in one location, and we could just transfer it to another location. What we mean indeed with another way of managing applications is by using and leveraging VMware App Volumes. What it actually does is if you have your operating system, and we will actually just containerize your applications, taking them away from the operating system. So meaning like with AppV or with any other virtualization technology we used to use, we are able to store those applications separately from the operating system and assigning those on a user-based, instead of like some other technologies out there that's all machine-based. This is user-based, so meaning you need a lot less golden images or master images to manage your infrastructure, and your applications, you can just manage them in versions. So meaning if you roll out a new version, was not properly tested, for example, there is a problem with that version, people just have to log off, log in again, and the previous version is already available. But of course, the main challenge we had with this customer was they had more than 500 applications still sitting in SCCM. And the problem was, okay, but we need to move them and we need to package them in App Volumes, and we need to be able to move them to the cloud. How do we do that? Of course, that's a large challenge because, yeah, you have to discover all the applications. You need to check if they're ready indeed for them, because they were quite some version of Windows 10 behind. Will they work on the newest version? Indeed, we have to make them indeed into App Volumes, so we have to otherwise repackage everything. We want to do that, of course, in an automated way. And that's where Remote 3 comes in. With Remote 3, what we actually did was we were able to just read out their complete SCCM library. So really just discover the app estate. We could automatically assign those to automatic packaging machines that we hosted in Azure. And of course, against our referencing image, we used that just company deployment when that was uploaded to there. They were automatically captured, so meaning they were automatically created, and App Volumes or an MSIX are examples we could put out. And they were also tested against our reference image. So meaning actually start up the application, see if it ran, if there is any problem with DLLs. And in the end, we have our application ready and good to go. We have an App Volume that we can just assign to people. This is just from a migration point of view, this was awesome, but they're still using it today, because from the assess and to the actual test, that's indeed application lifecycle management. So now they can really easily automate their complete deployment of new versions. And even if we are future ready for Windows 11, we also already know we have the latest update. So there will be multiple versions of Windows still coming. You can just automatically test and capture and capture your applications, test them as well for future versions as well, without having an impact on the end users. So meaning really shorten your lifecycle management to go for Windows 11, for example, as well. So of course, yes, we needed to introduce additional security as well. So as the endpoint, like Guido greatly explained, we already saw the benefits of IGEL, but for some use cases, for example, administrative desktop, so domain administrators who had specific access to a really secure VDI environment, we wanted to have additional checks. So indeed, for example, is the operating system IGEL? Is it being managed by the specific customer indeed? Is it up to date? All those things, and we could do that for Microsoft and for macOS as well. In that way, we really checked, is it secure? And also for domain administrators, we had a continuous check of security. So meaning you only were allowed from a certain network, from a certain Wi-Fi profiles to have access to that.
So if they were switching within between, they would just immediately lose access.
Yeah, for example, if they were working from home, their VPN was working, they were in a specific subnet and that was allowed. And they would, for example, go for a coffee in the local coffee shop, and then they would connect to the public Wi-Fi there. That would seem, hey, you're now connecting from an untrusted
even though they were just walking.
Yeah. And then it just, as soon as just by seeing IP change from the Wi-Fi SSID, then it would lose connection.
Wow.
And this really in a simple way, so not pesky hard menus to go to, just a simple if this, then that, and that's really the configuration and how it can be deployed. Also to unmanaged devices, and that's really also where the product shines. You don't have, for example, for Microsoft, for a device that's already managed like an external supplier, you can't install an agent. We can still see, is the device encrypted? Is it up to date? Is the antivirus up to date? So at least a base set of things you can just, you can verify there as well. So that was indeed where this more or less is how indeed our complete platform shines and come together. IGEL we already covered, but more or less if we come to the conclusion of our story is the main benefits is at indeed from a connecting point of view with IGEL, we can lower costs, improve security, reuse old hardware so we can improve on sustainability as well. We can use deviceTRUST to additionally improve security. We have conditional based access with a lot of possibilities, even if no agent or anything else is locally installed, and really comply to zero trust. Then we shortly talked about Horizon Cloud Next Gen, what's possible and how to easily deploy applications and even distribute them across the globe. So that will lower costs because you only pay for what you use. So meaning if you shut down the virtual machine, you don't pay for it. And that's the great thing on using it in the cloud. And like we explained, you can just manage it. The only thing you need is manageability, but there is also scalability built in. So if you start locally today and you have a remote office with only 20 users, you can just provide only those 20 desktops in that location and do it like that. Or if you say for a certain period of time, for Christmas, for example, you did additional 1,000 desktops, you can just scale them and go down, and that's it. Then, of course, how did we get our applications up and running, and how did we really increase the application lifecycle management and also bringing faster, newer versions available to our customer was by leveraging Remote 3. And also now they are already testing out Windows 11 because we could indeed future test our applications if they were ready for Windows 11 as well. So of course, we covered a lot of information in a short period of time. Main question is indeed, yeah, okay, that's all great, but how can I actually get started on all these great products? You can contact Guido indeed, and we will soon send out after this the slides, of course, as well, how you can get in contact. Yeah. We can do just a custom demo for your specific use case, and later on perhaps even do a POC. Currently, there is some funding available from VMware and also funding Remote 3 proof of concept. So by almost no investment, we can do a custom POC for your complete environment and set something up and explain the benefits of Remo and volumes or just Remo to be able to help you to be ready for the future. Another format that I forgot to mention is if you're moving to modern operating system and modern management with Intune, for example. We all know Intune has its own specific packaging format again. A remote tree can also output natively for Intune as well. So meaning taking your existing application set and then just convert those to indeed the specific format you need as well. deviceTRUST, exactly the same, and you can just ask them for a demo, or we can set up a demo with you for your specific use case, see what's possible, and it's really quite easy to set up and to test. Same with IGEL, it's just indeed something you configure once and you can easily test and deploy it. Thank you very much for your attention and for being here.